come and talk to you tonight about character and personality in your characters. I got my start working at Marvel drawing Deadpool, who's a guy with a full face mask. You can't see his mouth, his nose, his ears, or anything. And yet somehow I became known as the guy that gives characters personality. And somehow I did that without any facial features, facial expressions, or anything. So I just wanted to explain to you how I did that and what you guys can do to make your characters more distinct, have more character. So one of the first things you do is you got to think about. I like to put myself in my character's shoes and think about who they are, where they're coming from, and what kind of person they are. What would they do in this situation? What would I do if I was them in whatever situation they're in? And so think about, I mentioned Deadpool, some of his defining characteristics. And the comic I drew was Cable and Deadpool, so it was always about what makes Deadpool Deadpool and Cable Cable. How are they different? So, let's see. So you're gonna just draw a bunch of stick figures here. And these are all characters that I've drawn before. Let's see. And just from their body language and their posture, you can figure out who they are, what they're doing. Let's see. What kind of person they are. So if you're thinking Deadpool, he's a bit of a show-off. He is standing proud, he's standing tall. He doesn't, he's just trying to get himself out there. But for him it's all a front, really. But, I don't know. Cable's a taller guy, stiff back, soldier, crossed arms, he's guarded, he's keeping his emotions from people. Deadpool's open-chested, he's out there. You got Spider-Man, who's one of his defining characteristics is his nerdiness, his low self-esteem. So he's crouched, he's got he keeps his shoulders low. Even in the movie they say he slouches when he walks. That's just part of his personality and who he is. And it's definitely part of what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man. Let's see. Now you got Hercules over here. He's tall, he's strong, he's the son of the king of the gods. And he drinks from a goblet, some ancient Greek goblet. He's toasting, he's splashing. He's making a mess. Then you got, let's see, Amadeus Cho over here, who's a little pain in the ass. Just
for his own good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he knows it, and that's the thing about him. So it's just about the body language. It's about knowing, how does Hercules stand that Amadeus doesn't stand? What do they do that's different from each other? And then the thing that comes along is Hercules, like I mentioned, he's got his goblet. That's, when you have Hercules, he's the big frat boy of the Marvel Universe. He's drinking and partying. Deadpool, also a bit of a partier, but he does not drink from a goblet. He drinks from, who's Deadpool? Mask up or down, depending on what mood he's in. And he's just drinking from a can of beer, probably Natty Light, PBR, something cheap, because he's a freelancer and takes whatever he can get. Let's see. I don't know. What are some other characteristics okay, Wolverine? How about Wolverine? Deadpool is smiling and goofing off. Wolverine is not. Wolverine is angry. No matter what he's doing, he is angry. And that's how you know that it's Okay, this is okay. Not a very good drawing, but you got the little ears. You know who it is.
Yeah.
um.
Oh, I would know this.
Yeah. Stubble, because he doesn't care. He doesn't, he doesn't take care of himself. And well, that's part of the thing. Spider-Man would be clean cut. He'd be, he's well shaven if he can even grow facial hair. And Wolverine cannot. Then you got, there's this little general character. Is Bob, Agent of Hydra. Buckled knees, ready to run at any second. Head lower than his shoulders because he's cowering. His hands, like ready to cover his face at any second. And that's one of the main. That's body language. That's personality. Magneto does not stand in the same way that the Riddler would. And that's an important thing about when you're drawing characters. Another thing I wanted to talk about is props. What I talked about a little bit here. Hercules with his goblet, Wolverine with his can of beer, Amadeus Cho would be playing a Game Boy. But then even in their secret identities, they don't have their costumes, but you can still tell that the dude with the camera around his neck, this is not Wolverine. Not missing much. It's not a beautiful drawing. Peter Parker would he'd have a camera on his neck. That's how you got to give them props, let them know who they are. Possibly carrying a newspaper with them. This is in the newspaper industry. You got to put little things like that in with the characters to show who they are, show what they're doing, show what their life is like outside of the regular punching people in the face thing that you always see. And that's what makes them distinct from each other. And another part about that is character design. The White Queen does not dress the same way that Kitty Pryde does. It would be inappropriate for the White Queen to dress like Kitty Pryde and for Kitty Pryde to dress like White Queen. Those are two completely different characters, two completely different attitudes and different senses of style. What's that?
So they give you some guidelines, show you how to make the character, or you just have to learn it?
No, nobody's ever going to give you guidelines. They expect you to do the research, to know who the characters are. You got to do your own research. You have to figure out, you have to know, come to your own conclusions about who the characters are and what's appropriate for who. In a character like the White Queen, she, fancy girl, lots of jewelry, fur, she, in her first appearance, she's got her fur cape and everything. She's wearing her, and she's showing off. She's wearing her negligee all night. She's wearing her lingerie, like, around 24/7. And that's just who she is. Now, meanwhile, Kitty Pryde's always worn full body suits, turtlenecks, whatever. And obviously and one of the story points is they never get along. But you just have to think about who you know, who your friends are, how your friends behave. And, your sister's not going to dress the same way as, your grandma. It's just not. And they probably would want to jump off a bridge if they ended up with each other's wardrobes. That's just something you have to think about when you're talking about character design. Let's see. Well, what else was I going to talk about with characters? I have my cheat sheet here. Oh yeah. Another thing is, this is something that, so you know what your character's going to look like, you know what they're going to do. the plot, the script you get will probably say whether they're wearing, like, whether they're drinking beer or have a camera or whatever with them. But one of the things that, as artists, you have to pay attention to is the storytelling, the composition, and getting the sense of character across in the storytelling. One easy way that I like to use to do that is camera angle. If we have the horizon line here, this is where your eyeball is. This is how tall you are. This is where your head is. If the character is above you, then they are more powerful than you are. You can draw a short little Wolverine towering above you, and you're gonna know he's a badass because he's bigger than you are. Or you can draw, I don't know, who's a wimpy character? Give me somebody. Batman. I like Batman. No, someone said Batman. So we're gonna have Batman. If Batman is down below you, looking up at you, he is not gonna appear as powerful as Wolverine will. Even though Wolverine is like what, 5'10" or something, and Batman is 6'6". Now this is a much more powerful pose for a character. And that, and this is something that goes in just the framing, the storytelling, every panel you draw, you gotta think, who's the powerful character in this situation? Is it Wolverine? Do you want the character to be more powerful than you, the reader, or do you want him to be weaker than you, the reader? Or are other people taller than you, or standing farther in the background? How much time do we have?
About 8 minutes.
Alright, so anyway, so does that make sense to everybody? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, just to, let's see, what are some other storytelling? What's that? Oh, yeah, you guys have any questions?
The Q&A part, people. Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Ask them about Power Play.
Oh, yeah. I guess I should plug my comic book Power Play. I have a poster of it over here. It's a digital comic available on Comixology, and it's all about coming up with new types of characters, and based in New York. Like, the East Village guy is different than the West Village guy, is different from the Williamsburg guy. But okay, we got a question over here.
These characters copyrighted. Copyright the characters directly, or do you copyright something bigger with the characters in it?
When I come up with my own characters,
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that question. I haven't actually formally copyrighted anything yet. Everything you draw is automatically copyrighted to you.
But you work for a publisher, and the publisher has it.
The publisher, Marvel obviously owns the copyright to Batman. DC owns.
DC's Batman.
Batman. I was pointing at Wolverine.
You're nervous.
Marvel owns Wolverine, DC owns Batman, and you know. Okay, you got a question over here.
What's your name?
Oh, my name is Andrew Rodriguez. You're talking about like the characters and their outfits, and you're trying to say you have to own it. You have to own that character has to own that he's Wolverine. So every guy,
Right.
So every time you draw Wolverine, it can't just be some guy in a suit.
Now Wolverine might own a pink polo. You will never draw him in that pink polo because that doesn't describe Wolverine very well. You're going to draw Wolverine in a plaid shirt and a cowboy hat because as illustrators, you have to draw, like every line you draw, you don't have a lot of space to say a lot of things. So every line you draw has to say as much as possible. And a pink polo doesn't say much about Wolverine. It doesn't say who he is. But you dress him like a cowboy, like he's normally drawn, and then you know a lot about him just by looking at him that one time.
a person like Amadeus Chow, like a lot of people do not know that guy. But he's always a kid with like the pull-ups and the pullover. He always has the fragile hair, but you know.
Right. When I drew Amadeus, I redesigned him to give him a suit because he took over a business.
Yeah.
But he didn't. His tie wasn't tight around his neck, and his shirt wasn't tucked in because he's still a teenager. He's still like, you know, he's a slacker essentially.
He's usually that kid who holds your PDA in the corner.
Exactly.
Maniacally, you're like,
exactly. He's like you said, he'd be playing his Game Boy, he'd be playing on his PDA, he'd be calculating numbers. He's not going to be, I don't know.
Playing dodgeball.
Playing dodgeball. You're not going to draw him with a baseball mitt unless it's showing that he actually can't throw that well or something like that.
Is there anybody else have you like actually redeveloped or redesigned or revision while you're drawing?
Actually, the other poster of my artwork that's around here somewhere is Zeus. Because I drew Zeus when he got transformed into a little kid.
Yeah.
And so his posture was always, he didn't have any memories, he was just a little kid, but they told him he was the king of the gods. So he just acted like it. So he walked around all proud, even though he was just a dumb little kid. He couldn't admit it. You know? So that's kind of where I took that character. All right, any other questions? All right.
Can you tell me something about your live studio?
What's that?
That's me. Oh, that's
Yes.
Alright, never mind.
I'll tell you later. Any questions over here?
For digital artists, do you have any recommendations for characterization? Because it's kind of like drawing. You draw a little bit differently on a computer than you would say on paper. Do you have any comments on that?
I draw everything on paper. Even for my digital comics, I just scan it in. Everything gets into the computer eventually.
Yeah.
So that's all the same. When I'm planning for stories that are going to be digital, the drawing is much different because I'm planning for a screen rather than a page. And that's a whole different approach to storytelling, panel layout, and all of that. But yeah, that's kind of a lecture for another day.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I kind of got a weird question.
Yeah.
You've done work on Spider-Man before.
Yeah.
And my biggest problem with Spider-Man, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people listening to, is the costume. And bringing out the muscle definition between all the webbing. What is your tip on that? Because McFarlane kind of set the tone on that, and I'm still trying to figure out how.
Well, every artist has their way of doing it. The question was, how do you draw? How do you get Spider-Man's anatomy and muscle structure through? Because he has a rather complicated character design. McFarlane, that was a long time ago. That was like, what, 30 years ago or something like that? 25, 30 years ago?
Almost 20.
Gee, thanks. Gee, thanks.
There's been a lot of artists since then, and everybody has their own way of doing it. John Romita Jr. certainly does it in a much different way. The way I handled it was, the red part of his costume with the webbing, I don't get as elaborate with the muscle design because it just turns into a mess. There's just too many lines there. So the blue part, the darker part, that's where you spend more time with the anatomy. At least that's how I did it. Different people do different ways.
Well, I just noticed with your drawings, like it was really kinetic and really energetic with it. It was really nice. A lot of people have trouble with it, and they kind of simplify it, and you kind of made it really energetic.
Yeah, I don't know. I approach Spider-Man. A lot of people try to draw Spider-Man differently when they draw other people. I draw more human, like the way I draw everything, and like a lot of the McFarlane poses, I don't like to draw because I don't get it. Like when I look at that drawing, I'm like, I don't understand how to move in that like that, and so I draw Spider-Man more realistically because I feel like if you get the anatomy right, even if he's doing a crazy stretch, you can feel it. Just when you're looking at that artwork, you're like, whoa. it would kind of like, you could feel the stretch of his legs when he has one over his head and one like sticking out in another direction, and his arms splayed out or whatever. Like if you get the anatomy down right, then the viewer can like feel what that is like and get a better sense of what it feels like to be Spider-Man, which is part of the fun of the character. Do we have any other questions, or is that wrapping up? All right. We have time for one last question.
What was the website you mentioned?
The website I mentioned. I didn't mention a website.
PowerPlay.
But PowerPlay, you can go to powerplaycomic.com, and it's available on Comixology for free. The first issue is available for free on Comixology.com, which is they're like the leading web comic distributor, or digital comic distributor. So check that out.
That's it.
Well, you can talk to me afterwards. But that's all the time we've got.
That's it. Thank you
That's it
very
for
much.
Railly.